she was the perfect wife until she suddenly went blind. Just when I thought she needed me the most, she vanished at the party, leaving me hunting her down through whispers and smirks. But when I finally found her, every illusion shattered, and that was only the first act. So, my name's Jason. I'm 29, and honestly, I thought I'd seen it all when it came to marriage. It's not like I was expecting drama or anything. Linda and I have always kept things pretty low-key. But just a couple days ago, she drops this bomb on me. She's almost blind. Yeah, like 1 minute she's got eagle vision, and the next, she's stumbling around like she can't tell the sofa from the door frame. I thought it was some kind of elaborate joke, you know? Linda's always had this weird sense of humor, but this time, she was dead serious. I remember that morning clearly. She's in the kitchen, squinting at her coffee cup, like it's written in a foreign language, then turns to me, all dramatic, and says, "Jason, I think I'm going blind." And I'm just standing there like, are you kidding me? Linda's the type who walks through a dark room and never bumps into anything. She moves with this weird grace, like a cat. And now, here she is, waving her hands in front of her like she's trying to feel the air. "What do you mean you're going blind?" I ask, already feeling a headache coming on. "You were fine yesterday." She looks at me, eyes wide, and says, "I don't know. Everything's all fuzzy. I can barely see your face." And let me tell you, that didn't exactly fill me with confidence. The idea that my wife was losing her sight, out of nowhere, mind you, was a bit much to take in. But Linda being Linda, she insists on handling it calmly, telling me that she made an appointment with an eye doctor, except he can't see her for another couple of days. "They're all booked up," she says, shrugging like this is just a minor inconvenience. "Guess I'll just have to get used to walking into walls until then." Now, I'm not proud of it, but part of me was still doubting the whole thing. I mean, this was Linda, who once convinced me she won a bet by standing on one leg for 5 hours just so I'd buy her a pizza. She's a pro at pranks, but as I watch her feel her way around the house like she's never been there before, I start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this is the real deal. That night, things got even weirder. We're sitting on the couch watching TV. Well, I'm watching, and she's listening, saying she can barely make out the shapes. She even squints at the remote like it's some alien device she's never seen before, fumbling to turn up the volume. And I'm just sitting there, thinking this can't be happening. So, at first, I'm all in for helping Linda through this. I mean, what kind of husband would I be if I just shrugged and walked off? She's bumping into walls, tripping over the coffee table, grabbing my arm like I'm the last bit of balance she's got left. It's like I've suddenly become her walking cane, and she won't go anywhere without me right there next to her. And she's really leaning into this helpless routine, fumbling for her water glass, mixing up the TV remote with her phone. I'm basically on Linda duty 24/7. Now, we had this big annual party coming up, the one we host every year. So, naturally, I suggest canceling it, thinking the last thing she'd want is to parade around like this in front of our friends. But guess what? Linda wouldn't hear it. She gives me this whole "I need to keep busy" speech, saying it'll help her forget about her vision troubles for a while. She even tries to make it sound like it's for my benefit, as if I need the distraction. Classic Linda. Fine, I thought. If she's up for it, so am I. But it's not exactly a walk in the park. I'm running around, getting everything ready, double-checking every detail, while Linda's over there giving vague directions from the couch, sipping tea like she's some sort of queen of the blind. By the time the guests start arriving, I'm already feeling half dead, and she's just beaming like everything's totally fine. The party's in full swing, everyone's having a great time, and Linda's right there with them, or at least I think she is. I'm making the rounds, playing the perfect host, trying not to think too hard about her vision issues. And honestly, for a while I just lose track of her. She'd been hanging onto my arm all evening, laughing along with everyone, so I figured if she needed a breather, she'd let me know. Then, suddenly, I realized she's just gone. Like, poof. 1 minute she's there, and the next, it's like she vanished into thin air. At first I brush it off. Maybe she stepped out for some air, or went to get some water. But after a quick check around, she's still nowhere in sight. I'm not saying I'm panicking yet, but this definitely doesn't sit right. So I start asking people, hey, have you seen Linda? Everyone just kind of shrugs, gives me that blank look like they have no idea what I'm talking about. Now, usually I'd be fine with that. Linda's a grown woman, after all. But considering she's supposed to be half-blind, this is definitely not great. I'm thinking, what if she's wandering around bumping into stuff? Or worse, what if she's fallen somewhere? I'm making my way through each room, peeking around corners, half expecting to see her trying to navigate her way back. But she's not in the kitchen, not in the hall, nowhere in sight. It's like she's literally disappeared, and all I can think is, how does someone who can't even find the coffee table without tripping just vanish? All right, so it's been, over half an hour now? At this point, mild concern has fully transitioned to all-out panic. I mean, Linda's practically half-blind, right? The longer she's missing, the worse my mind spirals. So I decide to go full-on detective mode. If she's somewhere in this house, I'm going to find her. I head upstairs, figuring maybe she's just hiding out for some quiet time. The party's pretty loud after all, but as I go from room to room, something feels off. You know that weird sixth sense you get when things don't add up? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling. I'm trying to stay calm, but it's getting harder with every empty room. Then, as I turn the corner, I see it. A closed door at the end of the hallway. And here's the kicker. It's locked. We never lock any of the rooms up here, especially not during a party. I stand there for a second, feeling my heart do this uncomfortable rapid-fire thing. And then I hear it. A low whisper and laughter. I knock, my hand feeling like it weighs a ton. "Linda?" I call, trying to keep my voice steady, even though my mind is racing 100 miles an hour. There's a pause, then more muffled laughter. It's soft but unmistakable. My chest tightens, and 1,000 questions start spinning in my head. What the heck is going on in there? I take a deep breath, telling myself it's probably nothing. Just my mind playing tricks on me, right? But I can't shake the feeling that whatever's behind that door is going to change everything. So I'm standing there, heart pounding, trying to convince myself it's all just some big misunderstanding. But then, click, the door opens a crack. And there he is. Some guy I've never seen before, tall, with this annoyingly confident grin like he's been expecting me all along. He looks me up and down, sizing me up in that smug, yeah, I know something you don't, kind of way. And then he does this little head tilt, like he's saying, "Come on in, buddy, the water's fine." He pushes the door open a bit more, just enough for me to see Linda sitting on the couch. And not just sitting. She's relaxed, leaning back, looking completely comfortable in his company. Her whole "I can't see anything" act? Nowhere to be found. I'm standing there, dumbstruck, watching her smile like she's been having the time of her life. She's not fumbling around, not waving her hands, trying to feel where things are. No, Linda's sitting there like she's never had a problem with her sight a day in her life. At that moment, everything clicks into place, crystal clear. I step into the room, feeling like I'm in some bizarre dream, unable to wrap my head around what's in front of me. And that's when the guy, Mr. Tall, dark, and way too sure of himself, turns to me with this amused look, raising an eyebrow. "Oh, so you're Jason?" he asks, voice dripping with sarcasm, like he's been waiting for this moment his entire life. Before I can even get a word out, Linda jumps in, putting on her best innocent and confused face. "Jason, I didn't know you were... I thought..." She stammers, pointing at the guy as if that explains anything. He looks like you from behind. I just got mixed up." The guy lets out this laugh, a low, mocking kind of chuckle that sends my blood boiling. He looks at me, giving this exaggerated shrug. "You really buying that, man?" he asks, shaking his head as if he's genuinely baffled by my supposed gullibility. "Come on, you're not actually falling for the whole 'I'm blind. Oops, I made a mistake' act, are you?" Linda throws him a glare, but he just grins back, totally unfazed. It's like he's loving every second of this. Linda suddenly bursts into tears, doing this whole dramatic sobbing routine like she's in some soap opera. "Jason, please, it's not what you think," she pleads, practically choking on her words. "I didn't mean for this to happen. It was just a mistake." But honestly, every word she says sounds emptier than the last. I'm staring at her, trying to find even a trace of the person I thought I knew. But all I see is betrayal written all over her face. Meanwhile, Mr. Perfect Stranger over here is just leaning against the wall, clearly enjoying every second of this. He's got this smug look, casually folding his arms, and when Linda starts trying to explain herself for the 100th time, he actually laughs. He looks right at me, completely unfazed, and says, "Hey man, don't take it so personally. People make mistakes, right?" I don't know what's worse, Linda's flimsy excuses or this guy's nonstop sarcasm. He glances between the two of us, shaking his head with a grin. "So, are we cool here, or you're really going to let this get to you?" he says, like it's all just some harmless joke. The way he says it, like I'm the one overreacting, just makes my fists clench. Linda keeps pleading, reaching for my hand, but I pull back. "Jason, I didn't think," she starts, but I've heard enough. I walked out of that room feeling like a part of me had just shattered and scattered all over the place. There was this hollow, aching emptiness inside, like someone had punched a hole right through my chest. I was numb, but not in the way where you can just shrug things off. No, this was the kind of numb where every step feels heavier, each breath hits harder. Linda's sobbing and excuses kept echoing in my mind, but they were like background noise now, meaningless, like static. All those dramatic tears, the desperate grabs for my hand, her mistake story. It was as empty as it sounded. It hit me all at once. She'd been lying to my face for who knows how long. Her whole almost blind act, her vulnerable, lost routine. It all made sense now, clear as day. Her blindness had been nothing more than a cover, a cheap trick to pull me in and distract me from whatever she was really up to. It was like seeing her face for the first time, and all I could see was the manipulation. The real Linda wasn't some helpless person who needed my help. No, she was calculating, willing to play whatever role worked best to keep me in the dark. As I walked back into the crowd, I felt that emptiness start to shift. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was done.